Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moonride. I'm here with Debbie of Freebird Spirit and Kim of Intuitive View. Today, we're talking about the unfortunate Supreme Court decision. I can speak for all of us. We're pretty upset. We're pretty shocked. We knew it was coming because we're all intuitives, but I
Right.
didn't think it was going to come like that. Yeah, you guys.
It
How
goes
you
to show
feeling?
you that as intuitives, like you said, we all knew it was coming. We
Yeah.
knew it. We talked about it. We told it. We warned everyone. Yes, it's going to be overturned. Yes, prepare yourself. But of course, when it hits, you're not. It's like, okay, so what's? We knew about it, and it doesn't. It still is so like, um, hits hard. Hits hard.
Yeah.
Shocking on so many levels.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. It still is shocking, even though we knew it was coming.
Mhm.
That it was coming.
Yeah.
Kim. She's
It's
getting
shocking.
she's getting in her stance.
Exactly.
Kim, let it rip. I just want to let it rip.
I was saying, as 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 intuitives, whereas there's these two sides that we work from, right? We have our very human side, very human emotions, human reactions, personal reactions. We're Deb and I are women. We're the personal stuff, and then you have the intuitive part of you that's very spirit connected, and that you kind of have to get that stuff out of the way to get to the other. And so I definitely had a couple of days of just reacting, yelling at the TV, yelling at people. It's very human, and that's okay. That's okay. It's very normal. It's very normal to have these emotions and feelings. And I think for me, one of the big things is that we don't seem to be able to celebrate anything. It's like we couldn't celebrate Trump's win because it was right on top of us was January 6th and him saying it was stolen and all that stuff.
You mean Biden's win?
Biden's win.
I'm sorry, Biden's win. Sorry, Trump's. Yeah. Trump won. Biden's win. Yeah, we can't celebrate Trump's loss, Biden's win. We can't celebrate that because everything's just we can't for a moment just be happy for a win. Same thing with this. We finally get the truth coming out in those hearings. It was so cathartic, at least for me. It was cathartic hearing the truth uncensored and just out there, and nobody blocking it or saying ridiculous things. It's just flowing, and it felt great. And then we've got this these people coming together to do some gun legislation. We can't celebrate any of it because stomping right on top of it is this gun thing, this, Roe v. Wade. It's just like it is like being pounded into the sand at times. And I think that for me, it just feels like I just want to come up for air. That's all I need. And then I can, keep going. But again, that's my very human side, and my spirit team keeps telling me, this is a very big picture, but we're expelling these old controlling, oppressive, very kind of darker, violent energies, and the ones that are coming in are the ones of cooperation, love, self-empowerment, more taking care of being my brother's keeper. Those kind of energies are coming in. And that's what's happening. That's the big picture, And so on some level, I think we all know that. We all know that there is a shift and a movement of energy taking place, and that we're moving into a new phase of our spiritual evolution. We're moving into a new space, and that is not stoppable. They can stop, and it basically, I'd said on a video earlier, this is like a giant temper tantrum that's happening right now because the old energies are leaving and they're clinging. And we're going to see stuff like this, and we will get past it. We will go back. This isn't for, this is just a step that is being taken to make us feel a little,
Powerless.
to make us feel like we're unempowered, but we're not. We're not at all.
Good.
And we just have to keep moving forward, which is what we're going to do. So it's not going to stop anything. They can slow it down, if they, but they can't stop it. They can't stop this change that we're all going through. So
It's so frustrating.
It's really frustrating. I'm just going to put my,
it's so frustrating.
It's totally frustrating. And for all you out there who are feeling frustrated, I totally feel you. Nature helps a little bit. I walked around and felt the earth under my feet. That helped me, kind of calm my anxiety. And there's a lot of anxiety around it. I mean, one of the judges signaled that this is the beginning. Gay rights are next. Is going to take away gay marriage.
Clarence.
And
Clarence.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas, even sexual freedom. It's all very negative stuff. I can't help but think that there is an element of the universe going out and saying, well, you guys going to work together now? Here, we have democracies at stake. Are we all going to just bury our hatchet of our little differences and go, hey, I'm not a woman, but I really believe in these rights, or, maybe I don't agree with, some people 100%, but this is so important that I'm going to blow past any differences that I might have and just go for this one thing. I often feel like Liz Cheney is an example of that. I don't agree with her about anything, but we are unified in this one thing, in this one belief in our democracy. It is almost as if, here is spirit sort of pushing us to say, okay, you got the idea. Now, you need action, and you need unified action. And I have to say, in a positive sense, that I do think that people are evolving in that way. It is more and more important for me as a man to say that I support women's rights. It's more important as a man to say that, I'm a feminist. I think that women should be treated in an equal fashion to men. That is not such radical idea,
Radical.
It's not that radical. And I almost feel too that even, though it doesn't directly involve men's bodies, that men are not happy about this, that the average man doesn't think that this is right. What about his rights? Even you're heterosexual, what about, your rights to have your own sexual life? And, maybe you got 5 kids and you can't afford a 6th. You just can't afford a 6th child.
Right.
Most people who have abortions already have children. They just cannot afford more. That's everybody's rights. Especially the rights of those who are not rich. It's in some sense, I'm hoping that this is going to unify people.
I hope you're right, David.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, you have to remember too, they're going against 85% of the country,
Yes.
85% of the country, and this is a small radical minority. They worked on this and worked on this and worked on this. And it also has to do with religion. Another kind of, and I don't want to offend anyone that's in a religion or part of a religion, but it is there's a certain way that religion has been used by certain people to pick out the things they want to pick out, cherry pick, what they want to pick out, what's acceptable to them, and throw away the stuff that isn't, and I think those things are, again, all kind of coming to a head.
Yeah.
This is absolutely, a faith-based, it's a church and state thing going on here. And you have these justices on that are bringing their faith-based ideal
Mhm.
to the court and using the court to back their faith-based ideals or beliefs. So this is in our face,
Mhm.
church and state
Absolutely.
mixing together.
Yeah.
In our highest court, you guys, it's in our highest court.
Yes.
It's I
Yeah.
don't even have words. It's just confounding to me.
Mhm.
In our highest court.
Mhm.
Right.
Well,
And
And the stuff coming out about Thomas's wife and all of that stuff. I mean, it's so ugly. It's so corrupt is what it is. It's corrupt, right? It's corruption at the highest levels, and
the
it needs to be outed.
stunning level of hypocrisy, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, the day we finally got Congress to agree to stop a few kids from getting shot in kindergarten. That
Right.
day, the Supreme Court completely undermined the idea that states have rights. They're
Right.
just legalese to push a certain agenda. I mean, my family's lived most of it in America for a very long time. Some of them were founders, they were the people living there at that time that wanted freedom of religion. Specifically, they were Quaker people who didn't want slavery. They had these religious proclivities. They are not being incorporated in this religious agenda. In my religion, and I'm very religious, I don't belong to one religion, but I'm a very religious person. I believe that people are reincarnated. And if a baby is not born, then it's not supposed to be born. This is the universal will. Obviously these are difficult questions for people, but if that's my religion, I'm not going to force it on you guys. You don't have to have an abortion because I think that it's okay. That's
Right.
my religion. I have no business pushing it on another person. But the same is going to be true for this court, which has a very specific religious view, even to the point of saying, if a child is raped by a family member, they have to give birth. There are many states where that is the case, right? You have to give birth to your rapist child, even if it's a family member. You have zero power to, to protect your own body from that experience. It's women I've spoke to said the most disturbing thing is for them, these are people who are not going to have children. They're, past those times. And they've just said, I feel like I have no power. I have no autonomy over my body. My vote doesn't matter because I live in California, right? And that to me, it almost feels like a sub-agenda, that it is not about right to life so much. It really is about power.
Yeah.
And that's what I get in my gut.
Oh, absolutely. And it is, and guess who still is continuing to be protected? It's male counterpart in all of this, right?
Yeah.
And that continues to be the case, even if you're the rapist. You would be less in trouble than the woman would get an abortion, who would be convicted of murder. So, whatever. Back in the early 80s, I helped run a home for pregnant teens. And this happened a lot more than I want to admit, but, or say, or I should say it, I should scream it out loud. But, when you have that 12-year-old in there who's pregnant, and guess it certainly wasn't pregnancy from a boyfriend, it was a family member. And guess who's totally protected? The family member. And guess who's totally shamed and pushed off to a home? Who's a baby themselves and having to risk her own life to have a baby. All women risk their life. When we are pregnant, we have to really work through that. Because it literally, you're risking your life carrying and gonna give birth. It's a life risk for yourself. And so now you're forcing it on people.
Mhm.
Now you're going to force it on, just like they did back in the early 80s,
Mhm.
forcing it on these babies. And of course, that, don't even get me started on that, but you all know, you all get the point of what I'm saying here. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're right. This is about, it's about, power. And what's going to happen is you're not going to force a bunch of beautiful, healthy white babies. That's not what's going to happen. Women will find a way. Either they will go to have unsafe things, they'll end their own life. If they don't want to have a baby, they're not going to, and they're going to find a way to not.
Mhm.
To not.
good.
So it's going to force us into this darkness that we don't have to go into.
Yeah.
So they're not going to do what they think they are. And I think that, and I also think that they've poked the bear, right? We're going to find out in November how this plays, because it's
Yeah.
not playing well.
Mhm.
You can't
I agree.
force this kind of stuff onto people. You just
Right.
can't.
Yeah, and I think you're right. They poked the bear there. And a good point as well to make here, I think, is that we can come up with all the scenarios. We know the scenarios of rape and all that, and you shouldn't take an abortion away because of that. No, you shouldn't take abortion away just because it's a part of women's rights to make a choice in their own body. It doesn't matter we can list all the horrible scenarios, but really what matters is just the simple right to our own human body,
Mhm.
our own bodies. So I had something else had come in during there, but you guys go ahead. It
It'll come
went,
back.
ooh.
It'll come back. I do. Go ahead.
Now, as intuitives, I was going to say, we also know that a lot of this is about money. They're getting paid. They're getting paid
Right.
to do these things. They're getting paid by the Heritage Foundation or by the, entertainment purposes only, or they're getting paid by, other, the NRA or the,
Yeah.
different churches, giant churches. They have
Yeah,
tons
the
of
mega
money and
churches.
no
Yeah.
taxes. It's like,
Mhm.
this isn't really, there might be a few people that really, really believe this wholesomely. They really, really believe. But so many of these people that are actually hoisting the power, it's
Mhm.
for money. It's
Mhm.
for money.
Mhm.
It's for power and money. That's what it's for. Yeah. So
I'd
that's where
like
we
to
are.
ask this to a first question is just a political one, and then we'll go into the spiritual one, right? But just politically, I think the real hope does lie in community. It does lie in all of us working together, whatever our differences make. But maybe we could say more about that. Like, what do you think that, and you can speak to this just as, women and not necessarily intuitives. What do you think we should do? How do you think we should go about changing this? Maybe I'd start with Kim.
We have to, vote, organize, give money, I think move into action as quickly as you can, because I think the more, when you just stay stuck in just that anger and rage, and I can't believe this, the more you can move into that mode of like, okay, this has happened. It's not accepting that it's happened is not accepting it and thinking it's
Right.
okay. But you have to get to that place of, okay, this has happened. Now what? And then you can move into action. And I think that the quicker you can move into that place of action, the better. And then we're moving forward again,
Mhm.
because this will turn back. We know it will. It can't stand. It's not where we're headed. In any way, shape, or form, it's not where we're headed. So we know this is going to go back. This is the last grasp and at power and throwing their weight around, and it's not going to last. But
Mhm.
the faster we can get to action, the better.
Mhm.
Exactly. And if you find yourself and you're not able to do some of these things that people are talking about, getting out and taking action, what does that action look like for you? Literally, you can do it from your own home. And that is just really literally closing your eyes and stepping into this energy of positive change and what you see happening and what you want to happen. just step into that energy, and that's going to create that ripple and connect into making change, making the positive change that we're looking for.
Mhm.
So I just want to encourage everybody that you can be a part of this, even just by your thoughts and your narrative.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, you know, the other day when I was doing the collab on Friday night when you missed, we talked to we brought RBG in. Everybody's like, bring RGB in. So we brought RB, and she was showing me, she lifted up a carpet in the Supreme Court Justice's department or whatever. She lifted up the carpet and was sweeping it out. So I just really, in her showing us that there's changes coming, and it's not just a surface change. It's literally sweeping out what's been there for a long time, hidden through that carpet. So I'm excited about that. And she encouraged everyone, you know what, this was a hard hit. Get up, pick up the pieces, and let's go. We are still on the move here. There was no backwards go. We're not going backwards. We're still on the move. Just pick up the pieces. You know, you might have dropped your luggage, pick that luggage up, and we're still on the move. So.
You know, I just want to add that I have, you know, again, ancestors that played some part in American history. And there were some that actually owned slaves. There were some that were Quakers and owned slaves for a while until they talked about it and said, this is really wrong. And they took strong actions. They, you know, by 1750, if you were a Quaker, you had to liberate your slaves, and they did. You know, we can say, wow, they're, you know, that's great. Obviously, what they started out with slaves was pretty terrible, but they changed their mind and they made great effort and great loss financially to liberate their slaves. And then I had another set of ancestors were radical abolitionists, led by a woman, by the way. And I always want to let people know, you know, there's these three sets of American people. There are some people you are never going to persuade. Right. There are some people that are totally on your team and that are going to agree with you. There is this persuadable middle. And it's really important to know the difference, because you'll be banging your head against the impossible to persuade people and just frustrating yourself, and it'll make you very, very cynical. You can be with your group of people, but they're already convinced, right? And you can find camaraderie there. But in the middle, I think that there are people who you can have, you know, calm conversations with, and you can somewhat change their minds. I think January 6th the committee is changing those minds. I think that I've been in conversations where, you know, often we get in situations where we're competing for rights, where it's gay rights or women's rights, you know, and these things are always put in that are divisive. And I was having a conversation with an African-American man, and he was pointing out that, you know, gay rights were so much faster than rights for Black people, and why, and, you know, this wasn't necessarily fair. And he may have a point, but I made the point to him that I voted for Barack Obama. And I voted for Barack Obama because he was for gay rights, right? And because of that, we did get equal rights, right? Thanks to some degree, Obama. And I just want to point that, you know, that conversation where I'm showing how we are unified and how we are together and how, you know, it's a good idea for us to support each other's rights, turned out to be such a productive conversation, where both of us were, you know, sort of elevated to a new awareness and understanding. In that group of people in the middle, perhaps there are men who do not really understand what it's like to be women. Maybe they're not totally on the side of fanatics, but maybe they are somewhat persuadable and they just don't know. I do feel if you can identify such people and you give them your personal experience, here is this person that I know, and this is what happened to them, and this is why they really needed this abortion. Here are these examples, that there are persuadable people, men and women. I always feel like that's the case. It's just you have to know who they are so you're not banging your head against a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think?
I think you're right. And I think that that the idea that we are all, if one of us doesn't have rights, none of us have rights.
Right.
If, we found that out in the pandemic. If one of us has the pandemic, one of us is sick, we're all sick.
Yeah.
It's that idea of, we have to lift everybody up. We cannot just, be for just our group and our stuff. And I think that without knowing it, I think Clarence Thomas did that for us by saying, we did this, now we're coming for you.
Right.
And so it is like, if women don't have rights, reproductive rights, none of us have rights. We're all vulnerable at that point. So we need to fight for each other.
Great point.
If they can be taken away for women, they can be taken away for anyone by this court.
Exactly.
And they will create whatever logic, whatever law they wish to enforce. So let's go to the positive. And I'm going to ask us all just to channel a little bit here and just say, where can we go with this energy? What's a positive way that we can address what's going on rather than be depressed? So go ahead, whoever feels like they're ready, go ahead and speak first. Anybody have that inclination? So what do you think? Debbie, do you have a feeling of going first?
I'm still spinning out of that other energy.
Okay,
yeah, okay, let's just clear it off.
I can tell you that this is that what is happening is not spirit guided or spirit led. So what is spirit guided and spirit led is we come from the spirit realm, which is joy, love, and freedom. And when those things are being tampered with, particularly our free will, that's a spiritual principle. Free will, being able to choose. That's why we're here, to make choices. So anything that gets in the way of that free will, that is not spirit guided or spirit led. So that's what's coming through for me very strongly. Is like, it's almost like when you can force things, in this realm, in this earthly realm, you can force things and make things happen, but they kind of land with a thud. They don't really have reach. When things are spirit guided and spirit led, they have reach. They keep going. There's a momentum that happens, and that's what they're playing with. That's what they're trying to play against, and it's not going to happen. It can't really happen. It's not. It's like trying to stop a wave with a toothpick. It's not possible. So we're going to see. This is going to we're going to be able to have our rights. Our rights are going to be intact again, because it goes along with this idea of free will and free choice, and that's a spiritual principle. They can't mess with it. They can't mess with it. They can try. They can't permanently. They can't. Not possible. It isn't possible.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's what I got.
And I feel alongside that, Kim, they were showing me kind of a higher view of a larger issue that also will be coming to light through this challenge. It's going to bring out a larger vision of a bigger problem here. But in doing so, it really is going to create a solid, true
Mhm.
freedom and equality here, you guys. And
Mhm.
so I feel, even though it feels messy here, it's going to be okay. And then I had talked about this earlier, but I wasn't thinking about it till just now. It came back in, is the lotus, right? It comes from that mud and muck. So out of that mud and muck that we're in right now, that lotus will come forth. So take,
Beautiful.
yeah, just Lincoln and with, the collective here and what we're doing and the like-minded and just keep that ripple of that positive vibration moving.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Yeah.
And what I get is, when people are turning on right-wing news media, they get very emotional. Fox News has created a sort of template for how to get people to get really enraged and angry. This is how it works, right? And what's really driving people to do things like January 6th to riot in that way really is an emotional, like a super hyper emotionalization of what's going on. This actually seems like the same kind of emotional motivator. I think it's, we're being motivated by real facts and things that are really outrageous, but somehow I feel like that level of emotion is really going to cause a shift. It is going to cause the people who are, not necessarily so down to vote, they're busy that day. I really do feel like there's, in the past, since Trump, I've felt like people like us have striven to create a new community, to unify, to get together, to support one another. And I really do feel like that this is just a continued extension of that. We would love to sit back and rejoice. That's not what's called for us. Perhaps we can rejoice in our solidarity, that we are going to see terrific solidarity in the future. And I really do think that, Judge Thomas could be removed. I would not have said that last week. I think that's what we should do. I think it's entirely possible, but I don't think that even the truth was the same last week, even though the truth was the same, that people would not have had the same degree of solidarity and belief to cause him to be removed, right? So I think that's coming, not just from a political space, but also a political space.
Yeah, they've definitely changed the energy, and I think it's going to it's we saw people filling the streets. This is moving people. People don't like unfairness, and they don't like cruelty, and they don't like taking people's rights away. And I really do think most people are pretty live and let live. They kind of want to just let people get on with their lives and go to work and, have a family and do the things that people do. They really just, that is where they are. I do think though that we're being asked to kind of move out of a type of self-centeredness or selfishness that has kind of been in the in the United States. We kind of saw that lift up a little bit during the pandemic, and that kind of thing. I think that we're being forced to kind of move out of that and kind of see what's really important. We've got lessons to learn. Yeah. Yeah.
We cannot be passive now.
No.
Everything is at stake right now, which has been true for the past several years, but even more so today. Terrific. I want to thank both of you for ending, first of all, on an optimistic level, but also for your voices here today. And let me just say that I stand in absolute solidarity with you guys, and anyone who is in this position. Right.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Debbie.
All
Thanks, Dave.
go.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks for watching.